Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 704. Let's see, my opponent kicked off with e4. He went e5. And he went bishop c4, the bishop's opening. Kind of a rare reply, although not a bad one. Let's see, knight f3 is the main move. There's f4, the king's gambit, knight c3, the Vienna game, and bishop c4, bishop's opening, and d4, the center game. Anyway, bishop c4, and I played knight f6, which is the main move. So after knight f6, white can just continue with d3, having got the bishop outside the pawn chain. That's one of the main ideas, or knight c3, and maybe prepare to push the pawn to f4 with the bishop ready to take back. That's after the d3 line. So anyway, it's kind of an interesting way to play. And one of the more interesting options that white has here is d4. This is the Urusov Gambit. And when I did the opening basics series on the bishop's opening, I kind of liked this gambit. So I tried to play it. And my problem was, let's see, whenever I would play bishop to c4 going into the bishop's opening, my opponents would play something other than knight f6. Really, you have to play knight f6 to make this Urusov Gambit work, because you need the threat of e5. So anyway, I never got to play it. And now, but when I have black, I always play like this. This is the main line. And now my opponent goes for the Urusov Gambit. So I totally had forgotten what's going on here. It looks like knight takes e4 immediately is a mistake. D takes e5, and it's not even a gambit here, and this knight is in a bit of an odd position here. So the way I played it was correct at first. Let's go back to the game. I played e takes d4, but I was just guessing at this point. I really didn't know the way to play it, but it makes some sense if you want to try and remember this. If you're black and your opponent plays d4 there, I mean, this pawn is undefended. If you bring the knight out to defend it, I can get chased away with d5. So really, you're almost obliged to take if that knight takes e4 doesn't look so attractive. And now he continues with the immediate knight f3. He continues with knight f3. He could also try the immediate e5 here, or queen takes d4 is a way of just getting the pawn back. But this is not especially great for white, because black gets to develop with the tempo. So basically, white keeps playing in gambit style, developing a piece. And now the main move here is, I thought it was knight takes e4. Oh, that's interesting. Knight to c6 is the main move here. And e5, let's just follow this for a little bit. e5 and d5, kicking back the bishop. Okay, so this could be a fun way to play. The other line I was looking at here is that actually it is possible to play knight takes e4 here. Just grab that pawn. It's a little bit scary because you're always worried about pins, but I guess you can defend that knight. If queen e7, you have d5, and you also have f5 or bishop f5 to defend it. So there's no immediate win here. I guess there's also queen e7, breaking the pin and defending the pawn. So queen takes d4 is the main move here, and then the knight goes back to f6. And I was looking at this. This is one of the main lines of the Urusov Gambit, and I was thinking, oh, this looks pretty good for white. The chess engine, by the way, the chess engine is not impressed. Let's go on a few more moves. Say bishop g5, bishop e7 now to break the pin, and knight c3. I mean, to me, this looks pretty good for white with all this quick development, and the king can castle in either direction, and black's pieces are all undeveloped and cramped. But I guess black does have some moves coming with tempo, like d5 and knight to c6. In any case, the chess engine rates this position as slightly favorable to black. So it seems like if black plays this way, then white has compensation for the pawn, but maybe not quite enough. Anyway, let's go back to the game. I just wanted to talk about the gambit a little bit. I just played bishop e7 immediately here, and white is a little bit better after this. So that's not the correct way to play. So if you ever get to this position, the moves here are either knight takes e4, going whole hog for the gambit, or knight to c6, developing this knight first and protecting the d pawn. Okay, anyway, I played bishop e7, and white went e5. So knight to e4 seems forced. It's only kind of active square left for that knight. And he goes queen takes d4, encouraging the knight to move again. And this is why this is better for white. White just has good active pieces here. And let's see, is he still pawn down? No, he's gotten the pawn back at this stage, and he's kind of chasing my knight around. Let's see, the knight is defended at c5, so he can't do anything immediately about that, but queen to g4 here is a good move. Taking a look at my undefended g-pawn. During the game, I wondered about the move e6, but it turns out I didn't realize this. Knight takes e6 defends this pawn for the moment, and I guess taking the knight and grabbing the pawn doesn't lead to a whole lot. So anyway, this is okay for black. I mean, the e6 push is okay for black. Actually, queen g4 is good for white. h4 doesn't seem to be the best way to proceed either. I can just castle here, and it's about equal. So bishop g5. The thing about this move, of course, is that I don't have to take the bishop. I can just leave it there. And so I was in no hurry to open up the h-file against my king. I just moved my knight back, kicking his queen. But actually, the chess engine says it's better still to just keep developing, get a new piece out, and then play d6 and try and get rid of this nasty advanced e-pawn. So that would be good for white. Let's see, knight e6, and I mean good for black. White is better after knight e6 again. So let's see, he went queen e3 here. I go knight c6 now. He goes c3. So c3, once again, yes, the advantage has been trading back and forth. c3 once again gives the advantage black to black, or at least gives up the advantage that white has. But if white continues developing here with knight c3, this is actually an excellent position for white. You can see all of white's pieces are developed. The king is ready to go to either side. My position is kind of cramped. This pawn here is really influencing what I can do. So this would be good for white. But c3 just blocks the natural development of this knight. And, I wasn't really thinking of hopping my knight into here just yet anyway. Those squares are not accomplishing that much, and this square, the d4 square, is already under white's control even without that pawn. So that wasn't a great move. Anyway, I go d5 here, trying to and get rid of one of white's trump cards here, this pawn on e5, and this succeeds. He takes en passant, tick back with the queen, so I'm getting my pieces off the back rank, and he gets knight b to d2. So all this is about even. Let's see, I went queen c5 here. I thought, well, if I trade queens, then I can get rid of this bishop here. And in the h-file, the open h-file, won't be any particular threat. Let's see, he threw in bishop takes e7. And so I took back, and then he played knight e4, kicking my queen. So knight e4 is a horrible blunder. So what's the correct move for black in this situation? Okay, pause the video if you don't see the answer. I'm giving it away. The answer is you should take the free bishop. It's just a piece up. So anyway, knight e4 is just a terrible move. He could have gone queen e4 if he wanted to avoid the trade of queens. He could have traded queens. All of that is about equal. Knight e4, of course, is losing, but well, I didn't spot that. I was so intent on getting the queens off, as I explained previously, that I went for this situation, which I thought might be an advantage to black because of white's somewhat scattered pawns here. But this turns out to be even, basically. Let's see, I went b6 here to develop my bishop, and also to keep his knight from coming into the c5 square. Let's see, he went knight to g5. I took it off, and I don't mind opening the h-file now. And then develop my bishop, which is good square for the bishop, defending h7. There's still a little bit of pressure here, particularly after he castles queenside. He can double rooks on the h-file, maybe trade off this bishop, and it's not so easy for me to play h6 because of his advanced pawn. So the combination of this pawn and the open h file, the pawn on g5 and the open h file, and there's still enough force here that it makes it, with the doubled rooks, it makes it a little bit uncomfortable for me. But objectively, the position is about equal. Let's see, I started maneuvering my knight around. I want to get this into the game. He went rook to h2, preparing to double. And I went rook to e8. I'm planning just to run out with my king. I couldn't see any way in the long run to keep defending h7, so I'm going to give it up, and I'm going to go after his weak pawns here. And I'm immediately threatening the e3 pawn there. Let's see, he doubles here. Let's see, I went knight to e5. Couldn't take right away. I mean, maybe I could have, but he has the threat of getting a rook all the way down here, and if I don't have both rooks on the back rank, then he can, if I've lifted this rook, for example, then that will skewer and pick up the rook over there. So I have to be a little bit careful about lifting my rooks. Anyway, my idea here was just to, let's see, well, my bishop is still defending h7, so it's not an immediate problem. He went with bishop to d5, hitting my rook. Brought this to d8, hitting his bishop. He went e4, defending. Got my bishop back to g6, staying in touch with h7. And now he went h4. And, obviously he's got this plan of trading off the bishop and coming in here and mating me if I take with the h-pawn, or if I take with the g-pawn, the f-pawn rather, then he can at least win the h-pawn and threaten on the back rank. So I played c6 here to kick his bishop. But there's actually a tactic I have here, which is kind of cute. So if you want to pause the video again, see if you can spot the tactic for black. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. It's one of these ones that's sometimes a little bit hard to see. It's because it's a two-mover, but knight here. You should always look at moves that make threats. Knight to g4 makes a threat, threatens to win one of those rooks, and that would also solve all my problems on the back rank by eliminating the possibility of his doubling the rooks. So after knight e to g4, that rook has to move. It only has one move. And then this square is available. So there's a fork there, and I pick up one of those rooks. So so that's probably a winning advantage for black. I just win the exchange here. So, yeah, actually, I was also, I should have mentioned this, that that there's a pin on the f file, so I can't actually take back with the f pawn. I have to take back with the h pawn after knight h4. If you were to take my bishop in this position, I can only take with the h pawn, and that just threatens mate. So it looked like a big threat that I had to deal with, but in fact, I had time for this tactic. Anyway, I played c6 here. This kicks the bishop, and so if he takes my bishop, I'll take his. He can take the h pawn. I can start moving my king out. This all works out okay for me. Oh, in fact, that's what happened in the game. He took, I took. He went knight here first. That is okay too, because this rook now is close enough to my king that my king can come over and defend it. So he grabs here, move my king to f8. He goes down here, chasing my king off the back rank, but my king defends the rook. Let's see, he played e takes d5. I traded rooks and grabbed this pawn. And this is, let's see, he has 5 pawns and I have 4 pawns, but this is actually a completely drawn endgame. He can't, well, his pawns are a little too weak over here on the king side, and the pawns on the queen side, he can potentially get a passed pawn here, but my king is close enough to stop them. So this game is drawn the rest of the way until one move before the end. So let's just go through this. I mean, this is okay play. No big mistakes were made here, and the game stayed drawn. I just don't think there's any way for white to get a win, or for black for that matter. We've gotten to equal material. There's still, I mean, it's still complicated enough to play on. So, I don't regret playing on here at all. But especially with pawns on both sides of the board, there's always, possibilities. So you play on, but objectively, it's just a drawn endgame. and we finally get this completely simplified position. But well, this last move I made, this rook g4 move here, this comes with a little bit of a tactical idea. The idea is that the rook from g4 can go to g3, defended by the pawn, and so if I can ever find a way to chase his king back to this square, then I can skewer his rook, and that's winning for me. So I played rook g4. He doesn't have to move his king back at all. Of course, the chess engine gives a simple drawing line. Say he pushes. Let's see, I can come forward over here trying to chase his rook away. He can come forward. And then the engine says I should just draw like this. Rook to g1, he takes. And I check. King goes to the side, and I take the pawn. And I'm threatening mate. Well, actually, I'm not threatening mate because he always has rook interposed. But anyway, with rooks, just a pair of rooks, that's a draw. So, but this one move here then gives the whole game away for white. He made several mistakes that I let him get away with, but this one he didn't get away with, just rook g3. And he lost on time, but there's no way to save this position. If he takes my rook, my pawn is too far away from his king. He can't stop it from queening, and his king is too far away from the rook to defend it. So he ran out of time at this point. But anyway, interesting game. Hope you guys liked this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon.